This video, we've got the K&N Series 63 AirCharger Cold Air Intake fitting 2024 and newer Mustang, GT, and Dark Horse models. If you're looking for an easy way to improve the drivability and response of your S650 GT or Dark Horse, you've got to take a look at this intake setup. This is specifically designed to increase airflow and reduce intake air temperatures versus your stock setup, which will make a very noticeable difference in the way your car drives and responds. And it doesn't require a tune either, so it's a pretty easy setup. K&N has long been the name in cold air intakes, and with good reason. Their intakes and filters are high quality, long-lasting pieces that provide noticeable improvements in overall drivability. Now let's start with those filters. Now of course, since the new Mustang has that twin throttle body setup on the Coyote V8, you get two of everything. So these are washable, reusable, high-flow oiled air filters that help capture dirt and particulates. And since these are going to have more surface area than your stock air filters, inherently they're going to let a lot more air through. You've got deep pleats to help with both flow and trapping of unwanted debris, and since it's an oiled design, you have the added benefit of having an additional layer of protection against dirt and particulates. The oil on the surface is nice and sticky, so it can help filter out even some of the smallest particulates that might otherwise slip through a dry filter. And the best part is you can just wash these out, re-oil them, and pop them right back in. No need to replace it, so you can just clean it and be back on your way. Oil filters like this also have a long lifespan, especially if properly cared for, so it's going to cut down on replacement costs. K&N says that you can go up to 100,000 miles without cleaning these filters in ideal conditions. However, I would recommend cleaning these out every year or so just to make sure everything is performing at its best. Now, this is also going to include two closed air boxes here. Now, you might be saying, well, where's the lid, Jay? Well, here's the thing. These are actually going to seal against the hood of your car. So they're going to pull in air from the front fascia of the car right behind the grille where your stock ones do. You get a slightly larger intake box, and you've got a little bit more area here too, because again, these are going to seal up against the hood using the included weather stripping. Now that's something we like to see because it's going to help keep intake air temperatures low, which is one of the main goals of this kit, because it's going to isolate those filters from the engine bay heat. All of that then is going to feed that cool air in through the boxes, through the filters, and into these big intake tubes. Now these are nice and smooth, especially as compared to your stock accordion style tubes, and because they're a little bit bigger and they're all solid, you get quite a bit more noise coming through here too. So the air is going to flow better, you're going to get more response, and your car is going to sound better because of that resonance here and through that box. And that's my favorite part about a cold air intake setup like this. You get that air and you actually get to hear it because it's not getting lost somewhere in the little accordion thing or in a smaller enclosed box. The other benefit to having the open lid here on these boxes is that you can check on the cleanliness and condition of the filter without having to disassemble anything. Another big positive is that this is a no tune required intake, so you do not need to invest in a custom tune or a flash tuning module in order to get this setup to work on your car. However, as I always say with any cold air intake, don't expect huge power gains. You're likely going to still feel some difference in the way your car responds, since inherently air is flowing better and you're getting more of it through. However, big power gains are not going to be the end result with just bolting this on. And if you really want to maximize the amount of power you're going to get with a setup like this, I would definitely recommend looking into a tune, but again, it is not required. Construction-wise, the filters are cotton gauze media, and again, they are oiled, so they're going to do an excellent job of filtering out dirt and particulates. The intake tubes and air boxes are both made from roto-molded polyethylene, again providing excellent airflow and heat resistance, as well as that resonance we were talking about. You also get all the bits you need to get this installed too, including some heavy pieces of weather stripping to go around the tops of the boxes and keep everything nice and sealed up, plus all the connection points that you need too. Pricing for this will run you about $700. Now there aren't a lot of intakes on the market yet for the S650, but this one will command a bit of a premium. As with most things though, you get what you pay for here. So if you're looking for something that's pretty high quality and is also an easy bolt-on upgrade that won't break the bank, this is absolutely going to be the one you want to go with. Installation gets a 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter and should take you around 2 hours to complete. Again, all the clamps and pieces that you need to get the job done are included in the box, so this is a bolt-on installation that also won't require you to make any modifications to your car. With that, let's head on out to the shop and we'll walk you through the install process.
Tools required for this install include a ratchet, clip remover tool, T20 Torx driver, 2.5 and 4 millimeter Allen wrenches, 16 millimeter wrench, 7/8 wrench, a couple different size flathead screwdrivers, an extension, 1/4 inch socket, an 8 and 10 millimeter socket.
What's up guys? Today we're installing intakes on our Mustang, so let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is remove our engine cover. It's just a bunch of grommets onto pins, so we'll just pull up to pop that off. Next, we'll take a 7mm socket to loosen up our clamp. And then we're going to be disconnecting our evap hose from our connection up here, as well as the connection on the intake. So press in on that black tab right at the top, slide it off, and then just twist this to pop it off of that fitting. Next, we're going to disconnect our MAF sensor. So grab a clip remover tool, pop that clip out, and then you're just going to have a tab on the back you have to pull back and press in on. This is what that looks like. Pull that back, and then once it's unlocked, you can press it down, pop it out. Next, we need to disconnect this 10mm bolt holding in our air box. So I'm just going to pop this red cover off to get more access to it, and then take a 10mm socket and remove it. And then once you have that out, you are going to have to pull this relay out of the way to get your airbox out. So just take a flathead screwdriver and release that tab in the back right there, pushing up on it, and then just slide that off to the side for now. And now we can just remove our whole tube and box. So just wiggle this off of your throttle body first. And pop that off the grommet. Slide that out. And then apart from removing this fuse over here, you can repeat the same process on the other side. And now with our stock intakes removed, we just need to take a T20 Torx driver to remove our mass airflow sensors from each side. Now just take that T20 Torx driver, remove those two screws, and then you can slide your sensor right out. And do the same thing for the other one. So now I've got a bunch of stuff to assemble on the table before we get these mounted up into the Mustang. We're gonna get our airbox assembled with our filter and this rubber coupler. First thing we're gonna do is get our mass airflow sensor installed into our intake tube, as well as the fitting for our evap line or the crankcase line on the passenger side. So I'm gonna get our mass airflow sensor in first. Now you wanna line up your sensor with the two holes in this bracket because it can only go one way. So that's the direction. It has an arrow on it for which way the airflow is going. That's this way. This is the side that's going on the throttle body, so we want it pointed that way. So it's going to be going on this way. I'm going to put this little foam gasket on there first. Just peel that backing off, and then just line up your slotted holes, just like that, and stick it on. Double check that your sensor's still the right way. And then we're gonna line that up. We have bigger and smaller Allen bolts. The bigger ones are getting a flat washer and threading into the intake tube. And then slide your MAF sensor in. And now your smaller Allen screws are going through your MAF sensor and into that bracket. Tighten down your smaller screws with a 2.5mm Allen wrench. And your bigger screws with a 4mm Allen wrench. And then grab your fittings. There's a bigger and a smaller one. Smaller one is going to be for the passenger side, and the bigger one is going to be for the driver's side. So thread those in. You're going to need a 7/8 wrench for the bigger one and a 16mm wrench for the smaller one. Now these are plastic threads, so don't go crazy tight on it. Just get it good and snug and just give it a little bit more. Now do that same thing for your other intake tube. Next, we're gonna assemble our intake box. I'm gonna get my filter in there first. Now there's a wider side. You're gonna have to go in sideways like that first, and then rotate it towards this side with the hole. Make sure you get your clamp up top. And then you're going to take this rubber coupler, press it into your box inside of your air filter, just like that. And then there's this little lip here that's going to ride in between where this plastic is. So you're going to have to give it a good shove to get it started and then just work it around and pop it in. So I'm in at the top there. So now I can just keep working it around. And you want that to be flush against your tube, just like that. So now grab the screw on your clamp and take your flathead screwdriver and tighten down your clamp. And then on the opposite side here, we're gonna grab our badge. We've just got some clips that are gonna go into those holes. And you're gonna want that pointed away from your air filter. And now we need to connect our fittings and tighten down our clamps on our crankcase line. And then we need to swap our factory line on this evap line over for the one included in the kit. So for the evap line, just twist and pull. Pop that hose off. And then just twist and push to pop your new one on. And now over here, throw your two clamps on. Press in your two fittings. And then just line that up on the end of your hose. Take a 1/4 inch socket and tighten down your clamp. And just give it a good tug. Make sure you're nice and tight. Do the same thing on the other side. So now we've got a couple final steps before we get our air boxes in here. First, on the passenger side, we're gonna need to remove this silver clip that our relay clipped to add it to our relocation bracket. So just like on the top where we got that flathead screwdriver to pull back on the tab, we're gonna do this on the bottom now. So get in between the silver and that black tab, pull the black tab back, and then slide that out. And now over on the driver's side, we need to remove the other side of our crankcase line. So you've got this blue tab, you're gonna pull towards yourself and then push away. And slide it off. Pulling that up and away is gonna open up that clip, so that comes off. So now we have our relocation bracket for the relay. We're gonna put that clip right on the front side of that bracket using one of our Allen head bolts with a flat washer. And then get another flat washer and a nut on the back side. And then you want this sticking straight up. Grab a 4mm Allen wrench for the bolt and a 10mm socket for the nut. Tighten that down. So now we're gonna slide our air box into place. We're gonna get the intake duct down in there first. And then just slide that down into place. Now we're going to be reinstalling our factory bolt into that hole. It's going to go through this bracket and then through the air box and then into that hole. So now it might be a little tough to see. I got that red plastic cover out of the way. Drop your bolt through the bracket, through the hole in your air box, and then get it into that U-clip. And then take a 10mm socket to tighten it down. And then with that in, you can pop your red cover back on. And then we're gonna take our relay, tuck our wire down, and then pop it onto that clip. So now we're gonna get our coupler on our throttle body and get our intake tube in here. So just take your clamps, slide those on, and then just stretch your coupler over your throttle body. And then you're gonna slide your tube into your air box. So Now just guide your intake tube into that coupler. Gonna loosen up this clamp a little bit with a flathead screwdriver. Make it a little bit easier. And now once you have your tube inside of your coupler, take your flathead screwdriver, tighten up your two clamps. And then do that same thing on the other side. And now we can go back and plug in our mass airflow sensor, as well as connect our line up here. Press that in until it clicks, and then press that white locking tab down into place. And then we'll press our hose onto the fitting that we removed it from. And press and click that onto the fitting that we installed into our intake pipe. And now we just need to hop back over to our driver's side and install our new PCV line. So these just press onto the fitting just like stock. Press it on until it clicks. Give it a tug to make sure it's not going anywhere. Do the same thing on your intake tube. And now we just need to reinstall our engine cover. We've got these 4 pins that are going to line up with these grommets in our manifold. So just line them up, press them down into place.
So that'll wrap up this review and install of the K&N Series 63 AirCharger Cold Air Intake for your 2024 and newer Mustang GT and Dark Horse. Thank you for watching, and for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.